aim to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles. You're watching ASEAN in Focus on tonight's headlines.
Good morning.
The U.S. Coast Guard has confirmed that all 5 people aboard the submersible that went missing near the wreck of the Titanic have died.
And the debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel.
U.S. President Joe Biden and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi met in Washington, D.C. to discuss the strengthening of their countries. The meeting comes as the U.S. is seeking to build a counterweight to China's growing influence in the Indo-Pacific region. Biden has said that he wants to work with India to push back against China's coercive economic practices. And President Marcos Jr. made a strong commitment to combat online investment scams and ensure that those responsible face the full force of the law. And we've got an incredible display of celestial power to share with you. Brace yourselves for the might of the sun in a stunning event that unfolded on Tuesday at 1:09 p.m. EDT. Our radiant star unleashed a colossal burst of solar radiation known as an X-flare. This is the strongest type of outburst that the sun can produce, and it's a sight to behold. Good evening, everyone. We bring you a somber update on a tragic incident that has captured worldwide attention. All 5 individuals on board the submersible near the wreckage of the Titanic have unfortunately lost their lives. The U.S. Coast Guard has revealed that the vessel experienced a catastrophic implosion in the deep ocean, resulting in an instant demise for those aboard. Take a look.
This morning, an ROV, or remote operated vehicle, from the vessel Horizon Arctic discovered the tail cone of the Titan submersible approximately 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic on the seafloor. The ROV subsequently found additional debris.
Now, this distressing news marked the end of a multinational search and rescue operation that has held the world in suspense for the past 4 days. Rear Admiral John Mauger, speaking to reporters in Boston, shared that the analysis of debris found on the seafloor, approximately 1,600 feet from the Titanic's bow, indicated that the sub's pressure chamber had imploded.
In consultation with experts from within the Unified Command, the debris is consistent with the catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber. The location of the Titan submersible was in an area that was approximately 1,600 feet from the wreck of the Titanic.
So that's off the bow of Titanic. It's in an area where there is not any debris of Titanic. It is a smooth bottom. To my knowledge and anything I've seen, there's no Titanic wreckage in that area. And again, 200 plus meters from the bow, and consistent with the location of last communication for an implosion in the water column. And the size of the debris field is consistent with that implosion in the water column.
Among the individuals on board were British explorer Hamish Harding, French submarine expert Paul-Andrew Nargeolet, Pakistani-British tycoon Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman, and Stockton Rush, CEO of OceanGate Expeditions, the operator of the submersible. OceanGate, deeply affected by this tragedy, stated, "Our thoughts are with these 5 individuals and their families during this devastating time." Rear Admiral Mauger declined to speculate on the cause and timing of the vessel's implosion, stating that further investigation would be necessary. He refrained from commenting on the retrieval of the victims' remains.
This is an incredibly unforgiving environment down there on the seafloor. And the debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. And so we'll continue to work and continue to search the area down there, but I don't have an answer for prospects at this time.
Now, the United States military initially detected the probable implosion of the submersible using undisclosed underwater sound monitoring devices shortly after it went missing on Sunday. The small sub, named Titan, was on a descent towards the Titanic, which rests more than 2 miles or nearly 4 kilometers below the ocean surface and approximately 400 miles off the coast of Newfoundland, Canada. It's worth noting that Ocean Gate Expeditions charged $250,000 for a seat on the submersible. In a 2018 lawsuit, concerns were raised about the experimental and untested design of the Titan by its former director of Marine Operations. In a previous update, Jules Jaff, a U.S. research oceanographer at the University of San Diego, expressed his belief that locating the Ocean Gate submersible in a mangled wreck within the next 36 hours would be practically impossible. Jaff, a member of the team that discovered the Titanic wreck in 1985, shared this perspective earlier in the day.
Opportunities for finding them in a mangled wreck within the next 36 hours, I think, are practically impossible. And probably the worst place for them to be would be on the seafloor, which implied that the vehicle itself either imploded or got tangled somehow, much to the distress of the captain in the mess of the Titanic. I mean, it's a mangled wreck with probably all kinds of treacherous things which would not be very friendly for a small boat, about 7 meters.
And we bring you the latest news from the White House, where President Biden hosted a significant meeting with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. However, the president also faced inquiries regarding his recent remarks about China's President Xi Jinping being a dictator. President Biden assured that his choice of words did not undermine ongoing efforts to stabilize U.S.-China relations. Take a look.
Your comments at a fundraiser this week appear to be the first time in recent memory that a sitting U.S. president has called a Chinese leader a dictator. Did those comments about President Xi undermine or complicate the progress your administration has made in maintaining a relationship with China?
The answer to your first question is no.
Just one day after Secretary of State Antony Blinken's meeting with President Xi Jinping in Beijing, President Biden's comments drew strong reactions from China, with officials labeling his language as absurd and irresponsible.
美方有关言论极其荒谬，极不负责，严重违背基本事实，严重违背外交礼仪，严重侵犯中方政治尊严，是公开的政治挑衅。中方对此强烈不满，坚决反对。
The president acknowledged that his statement had caused some confusion, but reiterated his commitment to his beliefs. President Biden expressed that he expects to meet with President Xi in the near future and stated that the incident hasn't had any substantial consequences on diplomatic efforts.
That the hysteria about the relationship with China is collapsing and moving, et cetera, we had an incident that caused some confusion, you might say. But the Secretary Blinken had a great trip to China. I expect to be meeting with President Xi sometime in the future, in the near term, and I don't think it's had any real consequence.
Meanwhile, part of President Biden's strategy regarding China involves strengthening ties with India, one of the defining relationships in his administration's foreign policy. The significance of this partnership was on full display today as ceremonial honors and a formal banquet were arranged for the Prime Minister.
I've long believed that the relationship between the United States and India will be one of the defining relationships of the 21st century.
However, it's worth noting that Prime Minister Modi's government has faced criticism for alleged regression in democratic values, human rights, and press freedom. Prime Minister Modi, who has avoided press conferences domestically, faced pressure to address these concerns during his visit to the U.S.
So as you raise these broader issues of human rights and democracy, what is your message to those, including some members of your own party, who believe that your administration is overlooking the targeting of religious minorities and a crackdown on dissent in India?
Democracy is in our DNA. Democracy is our spirit. Democracy runs in our veins. Regardless of caste, creed, religion, gender, there's absolutely no space for discrimination.
White House officials also highlighted the shift in India's defense procurement, with signs of the country moving away from reliance on Russian military equipment and diversifying its source to include the U.S., Israel, Britain, and other nations. Nevertheless, India's continued purchase of Russian oil has raised concerns about potential funding for the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. And today, U.S. President Joe Biden and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi reached an agreement on a wide range of strategies aimed at expanding defense and technology cooperation between their countries, particularly in response to China's growing economic and military prowess. Again, let's take a listen.
Also talked about our shared efforts to mitigate the humanitarian tragedies unleashed by Russia's brutal war in Ukraine, and to defend the core principles of the UN Charter's sovereignty and territorial integrity. We discussed our work through the Quad and how India and the United States, together with Australia and Japan, can ensure the vital Indo-Pacific region remains free, open, prosperous, and secure.
We have transitioned today to a relationship involving transfer of technology, co-development, and co-production. The decision taken by General Electric to manufacture engines in India through transfer of technology is a landmark agreement.
India has been actively seeking access to advanced U.S. technology to enhance its domestic defense manufacturing capabilities, while simultaneously diversifying its sources of military equipment. Prime Minister Modi aims to raise India's global standing by positioning it as a counterbalance to China's rising influence. Additionally, he sees an opportunity to distance India from Russia amid the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the prevailing anti-Russia sentiment. Furthermore, India, known as the world's largest arms importer, is set to purchase MQ-9 reconnaissance drones from the U.S. These drones are expected to significantly improve India's surveillance capabilities along its lengthy and, in some areas, disputed border with China, as well as its maritime region. Despite criticism, both domestically and internationally, regarding Prime Minister Modi's human rights record, treatment of minorities, and restrictions on freedom of speech, the U.S. has sees India as a crucial force to counterbalance China's influence and accorded a warm reception to Modi during this visit. And we have an update from Malaysia, where the government is eagerly anticipating President Marcos Jr. to sign a memorandum of understanding aimed at enhancing the partnership between Manila and Kuala Lumpur in the realm of agricultural trade and cooperation. Recently, Senior Undersecretary Domingo Panganiban from the Department of Agriculture and Datu Abdul Malik Melvin Castellino Benanthony, Malaysia's newly appointed ambassador to the Philippines, engaged in discussions regarding how the two countries can further strengthen their collaboration in agricultural trade. During their meeting, both officials expressed keen interest in establishing joint ventures to promote increased trade and investment in Filipino agricultural products, including meat and meat products, halal products, as well as high-value fruits and vegetables. Additionally, they explored potential opportunities for cooperation in research, knowledge sharing, and advancements in fisheries, aquaculture, mariculture, and rubber industries. Malaysia will host this year's 45th meeting of the ASEAN Ministers on Agriculture and Forestry. Malaysia emerged as the top buyer of agricultural exports from the Philippines, with purchases worth $52.58 million, representing 31.8% of the total value of agricultural exports to ASEAN member countries during the same period. President Marcos Jr. made a strong commitment today to combat online investment scams and ensure that those responsible face the full force of the law. Speaking to the media after attending the 85th anniversary celebration of the Securities and Exchange Commission in Makati City, President Marcos emphasized the government's ongoing efforts to monitor digital transactions and protect the public from scammers and abusive online lenders.
It's really an arms race. Every defense or every capability that we develop to block or to catch or to nullify this kind of transactions, of course, they come up with new technology, they come up with new techniques.
President Marcos highlighted the importance of informed and vigilant consumers as the best defense against online scammers. He also stressed the need for individuals to be knowledgeable about fraudulent schemes and to be able to discern between legitimate offers and scams.
As I said, it's basically an arms race, but our best defense is a knowledgeable consumer who can see for themselves and determine for themselves that those that are legitimate offers of let's say, a promotional offer as opposed to a scam.
The President highlighted the pivotal role of the ongoing subscriber identity module or SIM card registration in empowering the government to stay ahead in the constant battle against deceitful individuals leveraging cutting-edge technologies such as artificial intelligence to perpetrate scams.
The SIM card registration, I think, was a big step. And I think we are getting to the point where we have disposed of or taken out of the system many of the SIM cards that have not been registered because they have been used for illegal purposes and for these scams that we have been hearing about.
President Marcos is leaving no room for leniency when it comes to individuals involved in promoting online scams. The President made it clear that those found guilty will face the full consequences of the law.
Of course, should anyone be found guilty of promoting such scams, then the full force of the law will come into play.
And a concerning environmental incident that has unfolded along the beautiful Thang Hoa Land beach in southern Thai province of Champon today. The picturesque shoreline has been marred by the distressing sight of thousands of dead fish, crabs, and prawns scattered along its sandy expanse. Take a look. Now, this tragic event has been attributed to a toxic algae bloom, commonly known as the red tide. This harmful phenomenon depletes the oxygen in the water, making it difficult for marine life to survive. Bunyawa Thongham, a local fishing authority, explained that the red tide prevents fish from breathing through their gills, ultimately leading to their demise. Heartbroken local residents have been witnessing the aftermath of this devastating event, with dead fish linking the 2-kilometer stretch of Thang Hoa Land's pristine, sandy, white beach. In response to the situation, authorities have issued a warning to the locals, advising them against consuming the fish. There are concerns that the algae responsible for the red tide may carry toxins that could pose health risks. However, authorities have stated that using the dead fish as fertilizer is deemed safe. Now, let's take a look at the weather forecast for the upcoming days. According to Pag-asa, we can expect a hot and humid Friday in Luzon, including Metro Manila, as there are no storms in sight, both inside and outside the Philippine area of responsibility. Again, let's listen in.
Sa ngayon, wala pa naman tayong binabantayan o minomonitor na low pressure area o sama ng panahon sa loob at labas ng ating Philippine area of responsibility na maaring makaapekto sa ating bansa sa mga susunod na araw. Sa Metro Manila at sa nalalabing bahagi ng ating bansa ay mas maaliwalas na panahon ang ating inaasahan, mainit at maalinsangan. Mamayang hapon hanggang sa gabi, may chance ng mga localized thunderstorms, yung mga pulupulong pag-ulan na may pagkulog at pagkidlat.
Weather specialist Daniel James Villamil from Pag-asa explained that the Intertropical Convergence Zone, an imaginary line where the air from the northern and southern hemispheres meets, is currently affecting Visayas, Mindanao, and Palawan. He reiterated that there are no weather cyclones being monitored over the next few days across the country, providing some relief from potential storm concerns. On the other hand, the ITCZ is bringing overcast skies along with scattered rain showers and thunderstorms to Palawan, Visayas, Zamboanga Peninsula, Northern Mindanao, and the Caraga region, as reported by Pag-asa. In the land of mouth-watering street food and tropical delights, Ratchanicorn's Prikong is on a mission to introduce a surprising addition to the Thai menu: cheese. While Thailand is famous for its vibrant culinary scene and bountiful agricultural landscape, dairy products and cheese haven't traditionally been a part of the local diet. However, Ratchanicorn is part of a growing community of cheesemakers that is turning heads, catching the attention of top chefs in Michelin-starred restaurants in Bangkok. Growing up in rural Thailand with limited exposure to dairy, Ratchanicorn had to embark on a journey to learn about the nuances of crafting good cheese. Starting out 7 years ago, she describes feeling like a blind painter, unable to fully gauge the quality of her creations.
My mother never feed me with cheese when I was young. She feed me with tofu, with rice. So how I cannot connect with that things. I like a blind painter. I paint very beautiful and say, oh yeah, your cheese very delicious. But I'm blind. I cannot see my picture.
On her small farm in Nakhon Pathom, just an hour's drive from Bangkok, Ratchanicorn resides in a modest wooden hut, while her cherished herd enjoys a spacious two-story barn strategically placed under the shade of trees to catch the gentle breezes. Making cheese in Thailand's hot and humid climate presents its own set of challenges.
And I'm quite nerd. I believe in the bacteria. I make cheese in the corner of work with the bacteria. I don't work as a food or the chef. Okay. I study hard. I study only even the Michelin. What the criteria? What the Michelin talks about? What the criteria? What's the theme of this year? So my chef had to get the star. I do for you. I study for you. I make a short note, lecture, everything, and I try to help them buy my cheese. I create local, green thing, carbon, zero credit. But I think their star, their Michelin star, is mine. You get only 3 maximum, but I 10 or 20 I can because I collect from you everything.
But as a self-proclaimed science nerd, Ratchanicorn embraced the daunting task of taming bacteria and persisted with unwavering determination. After weeks of meticulous preparation, she personally delivers her cheeses to over 10 high-end restaurants in Bangkok, including 4 establishments with prestigious Michelin stars. For Ratchanicorn, the true reward lies in bringing smiles to people's faces.
Finally, I don't sell cheese now. There is some happy or something for them. Make them smile. So they have to be my.
And finally, we've got an incredible display of celestial power to share with you tonight. Brace yourselves for the might of the sun. In a stunning event that unfolded on Tuesday at 1:09 p.m. EDT U.S. time, our radiant star unleashed a colossal burst of solar radiation known as an X-flare. This is the strongest type of outburst that the sun can produce, and it's a sight to behold. Thanks to NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, they were able to capture remarkable footage of this magnificent flare. The observatory, along with other space agency satellites and observatories, including those from the European Space Agency, constantly monitors the sun's activities. Now, these solar flares are intense bursts of radiation, but fear not, dear viewers, as harmful radiation from a flare cannot penetrate Earth's atmosphere to physically affect us. However, when they're powerful enough, they can disrupt the atmosphere's layer where GPS and communication signals travel. Now, here's an interesting twist. The X-flare was accompanied by a coronal mass ejection, or CME, which is essentially an enormous cloud of superheated plasma that the sun propelled into space. But fret not, stargazers, because this cosmic cloud is not aimed at our planet. According to spaceweather.com, citing a NASA model, there won't be any ramped-up auroral displays here on Earth. So, no need to set your alarm clocks just yet. However, it seems our neighboring red planet Mars might get treated to a glowing light show in the days to come. Orbiters like NASA's Mars Atmosphere and Volatile Evolution MAVEN will have a front row seat to witness this celestial spectacle caused by the solar plasma. While these eruptions usually pose no harm to us, organizations like NASA diligently keep an eye on the sun, ready to issue warnings if essential infrastructure such as power lines or satellites needs protection. So there you have it, folks. The sun continues to dazzle us with its astonishing power, reminding us of the awe-inspiring wonders of our universe. As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. This has been ASEAN in Focus. Stay alert, stay informed, for we live in extraordinary times. Good night.